Mumbai studios of Republic TV, it's time for Arnab Goswami on the debate.
Arnab Goswami on the debate at 9. Presented by Amity University. Powered by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group. Ever Ready and Fujitsu General.
Good evening. Last evening, President Zelensky made on Republic an impassioned plea for security guarantees, and today, France and Italy, within hours of that appeal, have stepped forward and offered security guarantees for Ukraine. And I think that's a huge step towards peace, towards negotiation. And while our crews document what's happening across the war-ravaged country, our network is reaching out across the world to geostrategic experts, opinion makers across all continents and all policy makers. And across the world, our growing global audience of Republic is responding with support and encouragement. Viewers, our global coverage is neutral with a unique Indian perspective. And it is born in a strong belief that our view, the Indian view, is the only view that can bring coherence to any global conversation. And that without our view, any global conversation on any conflict is incomplete. Swamped and encouraged with your responses, I therefore wanted to begin by thanking you and also at the same time expressing my deep concern at the possibility of a sudden flashpoint. A sudden flashpoint that will spin this war out of control and into a dangerous downward spiral once again. And that is why the big missile attack on a railway station in the Donetsk Republic, DPR, which both Russia and Ukraine are blaming each other for, is exactly the kind of flashpoint we need to be careful about so that neither side responds irrationally and we can't handle it anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, was it a false flag or a Russian strike? Debate number 1 over the missile fight. Debate number 2 this evening. I'm joined by John Bolton, former NSA of the United States of America, responding to points made in the Zelensky interview. We're expecting some breaking news from Pakistan to come in about 45 minutes from now. And on that, around 10:15, Imran versus the Pakistan Army ahead of the trust vote. That's debate number 3. And here are the headlines this Friday evening on the debate tonight. The Zelensky interview on Republic generates global conversations. At least 4 nations have responded to the interview. France and Italy respond by agreeing to become security guarantors. China unlikely to even give it a thought. "50 people are killed in a missile strike in the pro-Russian bloc. Ukraine denies firing the Tochka-U missile. Big blame game has begun between Ukraine and Russia."
Some of the former Warsaw Pact countries to supply some of their own armour in the way that you've been seeing.
NATO promises to pump in more weapons into Russia. Moscow promises to respond to the proxy war. Imran Khan on his way out attempts one last stunt with an address tonight. No buyers for his foreign hand theory anymore. And the Pakistan Army has officially warned and dumped Imran Khan. Stage is set for Saturday fireworks in Islamabad. And ladies and gentlemen, with over 600 million impressions worldwide in less than 24 hours, the Zelensky interview continues to be a global talking point. Now, one of the points the Ukrainian president made was that weapons he gets from the West will not be used against Russia or its people. But there's been a huge missile attack this morning, and 50 civilians have been killed. Both sides are denying firing the missile. What exactly happened? Let's debate. If you are getting all these weapons and these heavy weapons, are you, President Zelensky, preparing for a longer war with Russia with all these Western weapons?
If the world would like to end this war, then you would need to swiftly provide us with these weapons. And when we will have these weapons on our territory, then we would be powerful enough. We're not willing to capture any single city or territory or any person in the Russian Federation. We're not willing to have that. We are fighting for our land.
A railway station in Donetsk Oblast was attacked this morning, leading to a massive war of words between Russia and Ukraine, with Russia blaming Ukraine for this attack. The fact of the matter is that 39 civilians were killed in this attack. Russia denies firing these missiles, instead calls it a provocation. Republic TV spoke to one of the top military commanders in Ukraine, who have now said the Tochka missiles were fired by Russians against the international humanitarian laws. Not just that, they also say that they have evidence to prove that these missiles were fired from the Crimean region.
In the south of Ukraine, the situation is still tense, but at the same time, I would like to say that in some parts of those places, Ukrainian troops have managed to carry out successful offensive operations and have already liberated a number of towns and villages.
Tonight, Zelensky's security guarantee appeal has received response from three nations: Italy, France and China. While Italy and France have shown their desire to become a guarantor, China, on the other hand, remains non-committal.
Currently, we are interested in the security guarantors, and we can see leading countries among those security guarantees, those who can provide us with some security guarantees. Among the security guarantees, there could be United States, UK, Poland, Germany, France, and we're offering China to be a security guarantee.
More than 40 days into the war, one thing has become abundantly clear. Russia has failed miserably to capture cities like Kiev, Kharkiv, Sumy and other places. And that's the reason why they've now shifted goalposts. They're looking at the Donetsk region, where the offensives are only increasing. If there is a strategic win, then that could only be in the Donetsk region, where Russia has already started creating a land corridor from the Russian territory through the Donetsk region all the way to Crimea.
Ебать, видели?
Two sides tonight from Moscow, Alexander Bovdunov, from Norway, Glenn Deason, from St. Petersburg in Russia, Ksenia Kondrativa, and Dr. Nikolai Sokov is also joining us from Vienna. He's a senior fellow at the Vienna Center for Disarmament and Non-Proliferation. And from the Ukrainian side, we have Bogdan Nahalo of the Kiev Post. We have Sasha Romanovtseva, Executive Director of the Center for Civil Liberties in Ukraine. We have Vadim Trukin, former diplomat, and he's joining us from Kiev. And we have from Vilnius, with Russian journalist Konstantin Igort. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, Sasha, you are saying, Ukraine is saying that the missile attack, in which at least 39 people, we are now hearing about 50, have been killed, including 4 children. 4 children. You are saying that it was carried out by Russia. But why would Russia attack a region that it controls? The Russian-backed Donetsk People's Republic in eastern Ukraine is controlled by Russia. Why would, I can't hear you, Sasha, your audio may not have been switched on yet. Your mic is not switched on. Can you unmute your mic? Yeah. Can you hear me now? I can't hear you. It's still muted. Can you unmute your mic? Because I see you responding, but I can't hear you yet. You have to unmute your video conference
Got
mic.
it wrong.
1 minute, okay. But till we get the audio line right,
You got it wrong.
1 second, Bodan.
It's
Sasha's
got
back.
it wrong. Kramatorsk is under Ukrainian control.
Sasha, why would Russia attack a region in which it has effective control? And 50 people have died, including 4 children. 4 children.
Okay, so they wrote it. Why exactly they decided to do that? Because in exactly this bomb, and you have a photo, all of us, we have this photo, they wrote by Russian language, like why they do that, because of children's. They decided that it's good opportunity to revenge to their imagination children's which was dying of Ukrainian Nazi. But for your understanding, Kramatorsk, it's not Donetsk so-called People Republic. Kramatorsk was controlled by Ukrainian government during the whole 8 years, and now it's still exactly controlled by the Ukrainian army, and that's why like heads of Donetsk Oblast region ask people evacuate from there. So in this moment, why so many people, why crowd was there? Because that was railway station where the evacuation coming.
So Alexander, the Ukrainians are saying that on one side of this missile, in which 50 people have died and 4 children, I think I can show the missile. It is written, the words are there, for the children. For the children, right?
In Russian. It's really important.
Russian.
It's saying by Russian.
What I find remarkably difficult to believe is that if the Russians were to attack and want a sense of deniability, Sasha, let's be logical about it. They would not write. They would allow me to complete.
It's not logical.
Allow me to complete. They would know. Let's be logical, that the missile would be found, at least the shell, and they would be really foolish, stupid, to write in Russian for the children. At a time when they would be really foolish to write, this one is aimed at killing children in Russian on the missile. I mean, why would they do that? I mean, Sinia wants to come in on that. Sinia, I want Sinia to respond to you from St. Petersburg, please. Sinia.
Arnab, thanks for taking me in. First of all, let's make it clear. Kramatorsk is not a Russian territory. It's a territory under the control of Ukraine. It's not a part, as you stated in few reports and the announces, it's not a part of LNR or DNR. It's controlled by Ukrainians, a Ukrainian territory. So that one, at least, thing, let's make it clear. Then second thing is your narrative, if I can say so, is right. For Russia, it would be a very stupid thing to do right now. After Bucha, after all the allegations, I don't see the reason for Russia to simply attack the civilians. So that thing is just a pure logic. We don't really have right now any evidence, any proof who shot the missile. At least we've not seen that in the public space, right? So we have to wait for at least some evidence to come in. For now, we have only media reports, and before that, Telegram channel reports on which we can base our arguments. But believe me, that's not enough. And for Russia, it will be a very, Russia is not gaining anything by launching that kind of attack. While Ukraine could get, we can imagine that Ukraine can get more support, more weapons. Just today we had a news that Slovakia is giving a S-300 to Ukraine. So there are reasons for Ukraine to do that, however horrible it can be. But I don't see the reasons for Russia to do that. That's much as I can do. I'm not stating who has done it or we have any evidence. No, we don't have.
Well, it's not fallen out of the sky. You see, Sinia, the only thing I can say as of now is that one side is lying. Ladies and gentlemen, if that's zooming in on that missile, you see something scribbled on the shell of the missile. Now, the Ukrainians say that it is written in Russian and it is written for the children. And the Ukrainians are saying that the Russians have become so cruel, so insensitive. Yes, Bodan, I see you there. So insensitive, so cruel, Dr. Nikolai, they are saying that the Russians have become so sadistic that they are writing in Russian, this one is for the civilians, this one is for the children, death to the Ukrainians. These kind of things they are saying that the Russians are writing on every missile before firing them. This is the claim that has been made by the Ukrainians. What do you think, Dr. Nikolai Sokov, please? Dr. Nikolai, please, before Bodan.
Well, actually, what's written there means a completely different thing. It actually means sort of in revenge for children. So that's a whole different meaning of that. Who actually launched that missile, I don't know. Yes, it will be necessary to check satellite pictures for all the launches out there. Definitely, Ukraine does have Tochka missiles. All Tochka missiles that Russia used to have been withdrawn and replaced with a more capable Iskander missile. Well, it is of course possible that some Tochka missiles are still somewhere in storage. So I don't really think that we will know anytime soon any hard kind of facts about that launch. Although politically it doesn't really matter because, I don't know. The public opinion in the West has already made a decision.
Okay, so you think public opinion is made. Now, Bodan, this is the Russians are saying that this is a Tochka-U missile. And as Dr. Sokov just said, the Tochka-U missile is in active use in the Ukrainian armed forces. So how can the claims, by Russia about a false flag operation be dismissed completely? We have Alexander also. Russia has denied having any strike missions on 8th April in Kramatorsk. They are saying the Tochka-U missile is a Ukrainian missile. If this is a Tochka-U missile, right, and you're saying if this is a Tochka-U missile, would the focus not be on whether the Ukrainian forces fired it? And Ukraine has some 90 Tochka-U missiles they have in its arsenal.
May I speak, Arnab?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for your introduction. Right. It makes no sense for Ukrainians to bomb their own civilians. They've just asked the civilians to evacuate eastern Ukraine because there is a great danger of a Russian offensive. Secondly, we have evidence already, and I've posted it in Kyiv Post today, of the Telegram messages on Russian Telegram channels, one saying 2 birds, 2 deliveries have arrived at Kramatorsk to take care of the Ukrainian forces being consolidated there, gathering there. Then there's other evidence. Overnight, there was telegram messages to the civilians of Kramatorsk saying, if you want to evacuate your city, don't do it by the railway. Don't do it via the trains.
Who sent this message?
Is not just
Who sent the message? Who sent this message?
Have a look at the keeper. These are on Russian telegram channels in that area, aimed at the local population.
So they knew. You're saying that the Russians knew. You're saying, you're saying that the Russians knew that there is going to be. Allow me to complete. You're saying that the Russians knew there's going to be an attack, and they were warning the Russians that if you are trying to get out of that area, don't go near the railway station because they were going to target the railway station.
Exactly. And that is out now in the public domain since this all happened. Right. Now, thirdly, why should we believe the Ukrainians and not the Russians? Have a look at the questions that were asked of Peskov yesterday on Sky TV. The anchorman said, why should we believe Russia? You've lied all these years. You lied that the MH17 was shot down. And in the same way, there were messages on Telegram and other channels saying that we have shot down an international plane. Oh my God, we may have made a mistake. The evidence is there. Don't be fooled by the Russians today after Bucha saying it's not them. Why would the Ukrainians kill 50 of their own people, for God's sake? Be realistic.
Why would the Ukrainians kill their own people? A relevant point here. Now, Alexander, let's look at the missile. Yes. Let's look at the missile. The Ukrainians are saying that this is an Iskander type missile, right, which is used by the Russians.
No.
They're saying.
No,
they're saying the Ukrainian presidential advisor, Arestovich, has claimed that the Iskander type missile was used.
Yes, he said that initially.
He said that. So the point is, the Iskander missile is used by Russia, right? And the Ukrainians are saying that the Tochka missile has been completely retired. They are saying the Tochka missile has been completely retired. In fact, Russia has used the OTR-21 Tochka SRBM in the war against Ukraine. Am I right or wrong? My information is that the OTR-21 Tochka SRBM, which probably is short-range ballistic missile, has been used against Ukraine. Is that the kind of missile? And if I can see the picture there,
no.
That missile also has something written in Russian for the children. How is it written in Russian? Please don't tell me that after the missile landed, some Ukrainian wrote that and scribbled it in Russian after the missile landed. How is that scribbled in Russian on the missile?
Let me explain.
Please do.
First of all, Ukrainians, the population of Ukraine, of course, know how to write in Russian, and almost everybody knows this language, can speak and write, and so it's no problem. Moreover, in the war in 8 years ago, the national battalions of Ukraine were caught when they write exactly the same messages for the children. But on this,
is that Russian?
On this,
is it written in Russian? Is that Russian? Is that scribbling in Russian?
Yes, written in Russian because Ukrainians know how to write in Russian.
So they wrote it.
The problem is with.
Why would they write it?
Yes, they wrote in Russian.
They killed their own people and wrote in Russian.
They write this. Maybe they thought that they made revenge for Bucha.
For Bucha. So you're saying they took revenge for Bucha by firing the missile on their own people? Why would they take revenge for Bucha?
In my view, let me explain. In my view, firstly, this morning, Mr. Arestovich said that Russia fired Iskander missile. It appeared that it was Tochka-U because it had the
Tochka-U. Yes.
It's clear shown on the photos. Russia decommissioned such missiles decades ago, I think 2 decades ago. So there are 2 ways to explain the tragedy. First, Ukrainian missile was, of course, and hit station by mistake, so it was aimed to Russian forces. Another.
Yes. No, you know, I tell you, Alexander.
They own station deliberately to blame Russia.
Alexander.
Pretext for more sanctions, supply of weapons, and so on.
Alexander, I just, we are putting out all points of view out here, but you know the reason we are debating this because everyone wants the war to end. Now we have this horrible incident of the missile attack on a railway station. Yes, Vadim, I'm just coming to you. I just want to put it out here, ladies and gentlemen. The Russian Defense Ministry's tactic of calling the insinuations against them for the missile attack a provocation has been seen sometimes before. But the fact here is that Russia was reportedly regrouping around Kiev. So how is it a false flag operation when Russian forces were trying to regain the attention to Donbas after the retreat from Kiev and Chernihiv last week? This is a very serious matter. And the reason, Vadim, I'm debating this tonight is because it is exactly this kind of attack which can become a flashpoint in the war. Vadim. Vadim, please.
First of all, I would like to thank you. I would like to thank you. Yesterday, you have completed very very qualitative, I would say, interview with our president, Mr. Zelensky. Thank you very much for that again. And I appreciate very much that the interview was very deep, very factual, and it actually caused, very good discussions, professional discussions around the world. This is first. Secondly, no any surprises with this missiles attack, because this is usual tactic which Russian forces always, every day, every week, every month use, not only in Ukraine, but also in other countries which they are trying to invade or to control, like in Syria and other countries. This is second. Third, there are 3 reasons why they usually do it. First, to cause panic among the civilians, because when civilians are in panic, they make a pressure to political leadership. They ask to end the war, to save our lives, please help us, and so on. And this is not a very convenient situation for any government. Second, they want to prevent evacuation of the civilians. Why do they need it? Because they need people as leave shields during the further offensive attacks for Ukrainian forces. And third reason, they want to make pressure for Ukrainian political leadership, asking, okay, if you don't want to make a deal, then we will kill more and more your civilians. In such a situation, Ukrainian political leadership can find itself like, in Saint Knot, and they have to reach a deal immediately. But this is impossible, because Russians are not negotiable at all. And as a conclusion, no any surprise, they will do it again. But I hope very much that this case is black swan, another black swan for Russia. And the international community will react quickly, and will react in consolidated way. And today, when I see that European Union or leadership of the European Union is not just saying about concerns, but making decisions to support more Ukraine. When President of France is publicly saying that, okay, I am ready to be a guarantor and I will support Ukraine. Well, Americans also shocked, and they not just saying about concerns, but they are speeding up the process of making valid law on land lease, which is very important law for us. This law will really support us to defend our territory. And in my opinion, they make huge mistake by killing Ukrainian civilians, because this boomerang comes back to their heads.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Vadim, for your kind words regarding my interview with President Volodymyr Zelensky. We are presenting all sides, and all sides equally on the Republic Network, and we're not on one side. We're not like the American networks or the Russian networks. We are neutral. My point is, and I want to go to Konstantin on this. Konstantin, whether the Russians have done it or the Ukrainians have done it, one side has done this, which means, Konstantin, that one side is lying and one side is provoking, which also means that there is one side which wants to escalate the war desperately. Because when you carry out a missile attack on a railway station, you know that dozens, maybe hundreds of people will die. There is one side in this war, one side which wants an immediate escalation, Konstantin. And I just want you to, your views, and I want Glenn to come in on this one, whether you agree that one side, Konstantin, wants to quickly escalate the war, take it to a point of no return, and maybe after that negotiate. Which side is that, Konstantin? But what's clear is that there is one side which is planning this. Konstantin Egert, please, from Vilnius.
Arnab, thank you very much for having me on the show. And congratulations on your interview with President Zelensky, but please don't give me false dilemmas. We've been witnessing essentially massive onslaught by Russia and aggression for the last 6+ weeks. We've seen massive casualties among civilians. And you're highlighting just one incident, which essentially, compared to what happened in Bucha, for example, is not alas, I mean, all people are very, very important, and all deaths are very important, tragic. But this is, compared to what happened before, this is nothing special, really, to say so. And of course, at any kind of deliberations on who is doing it, I'm terribly sorry that the Russian government's been lying through their teeth for weeks, if not months, about their intentions regarding Ukraine, about shelling Kiev, about all sorts of things here. Why should we actually think that it's anything but a Russian attack? By the way, I served on a Tochka complex when I was in the army 30 plus years ago, and yes, it is still in storage on the territory of the Russian Federation, and I suppose that quite a few missiles have been fired already, and I think using Tochka is very much an attempt to replenish Russian supplies. I would say that this is probably quite logical. And again, why Ukraine should shell, well, yet another civilian site to gain what exactly? It's been going for quite some time. Yes. The international community is up in arms against. Let me finish, please. The international community is up in arms against Putin. It's been suggested that he and Lavrov be put on trial for war crimes. Actually, what is Ukraine gaining by shelling its own civilians? I just think I'm bogged down on that. And secondly, the people that speak to you out of Moscow, St. Petersburg. Look, today, if you interview someone from Moscow, St. Petersburg, it's either someone speaking, delivering to you the Kremlin message points, or it's someone who maybe is quite honest, but is afraid to speak the truth. So basically, everything you heard from Moscow is, frankly, to me, looks an attempt of a very clumsy attempt and a ridiculous attempt, frankly speaking, at window dressing. Just as Dr. Sokov from Vienna, with his fake objectivity, looks also pretty much bad to me.
No, but before I go, would you like to respond to that? Because he did make some pointed remarks at Senior in St. Petersburg, but Glenn, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah.
Senior wants to come in. No, Glenn first.
I would like to respond.
I would like
Definitely
to.
Glenn goes first. Senior, I'm coming to you right after that. Yes.
Yes. No, I think so far in this, who launched the missile? The matter of the fact is we don't have the evidence, and so far it's all speculation. What we can look at are the reasons and motivations. So if Russia launched this attack, it's only two options. Either one, well, first of all, it's either accidental, or second, well, they would do it on purpose, but that doesn't really make any sense. Why would you attack people who are fleeing the city? Actually, the civilians fleeing the city through the railway station in would be a positive thing for Russia. If they're seeking to take over the city, you want the civilians to first flee. That makes it easier to fight because the dead civilians are not a good look. On the other hand, if it's Ukraine, again, you also have the alternative of accident. But if it's not accident, we have to look at why would you attack deliberately? And we have to be honest about this. In this war, dead civilians, unfortunately, it is a political capital. Now, I'm not saying that that's what Ukraine did. I don't know, and we don't know. But again, this absolute certainty.
But you're suggesting they could have staged it. Are you suggesting the Ukrainians could have staged it? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well,
why would they stage something like this?
Well,
Arnab, I am sorry, but I have to respond. This is absolutely not acceptable to hear. I have to respond.
I did not.
This is
I did not accuse.
Absolutely not acceptable. Absolutely. If it would be one time, yes, this gentleman could have at least one person to be honest and to be truthful. But this is not one time. They do not allow our humanitarian convoy with food to enter Mariupol.
Why?
They do not allow people from Mariupol and other cities, from Kiev region, from Chernihiv region, from Sumy region, to escape. They were killing civilians in front of cars. This is their intention, to cause panic, to kill as many civilians as possible. This is definitely intention. This is not occasionally or accidentally. So please, the gentleman with very gentle look, be honest and don't use Kremlin narratives. This is absolutely unacceptable.
Kremlin narrative, he says,
civilians. We are talking about war crimes. don't.
Okay, Professor Glendy is responding from Oslo. Let him respond. Thank you.
Yes.
Bohdan, 1 minute. Yes,
no,
Professor.
To point out, I'm not saying either way. I'm saying these are the only two options. Either all I'm saying is if they've written this actually on the missile, it seems it appears to be very deliberate.
Can you imagine that President of European Parliament, the President of France, command something,
from Vienna, we have Dr. Nikolai Sokov also coming in. Dr. Nikolai Sokov is coming in. He wants to make a point out here. You see, this is the kind of escalation we don't need, but that's the direction it's taking. That's the direction it's taking. Dr. Sokov, my question was, one side wants to escalate this. Which side is that? It's quite clear. One side is wanting to escalate this. What would the benefit be for the Russians to escalate, for the Ukrainians to escalate? What do they gain?
Escalation during that war, it has escalated really to the maximum at the moment. I think that Russia is making the final push. The resources that are remaining are very limited, so they want one last victory in Donbas, and then they will definitely try to end the war, or at least it will be defensive mode for them, if nothing can be signed. So yes, that's probably what we're going to see in the next week or two.
But at a time when
we talk about escalation, there are two paths of escalation. One path is in case NATO directly interferes into war, yes, and then that would be a NATO-Russia war, at first conventional, but then it could, of course, escalate to nuclear level. The second path is what happens after the war in Ukraine ends, because depending on the position of the West, depending on whether the West will actually go for regime change and crippling sanctions and like strangling actually Russia, well, it might actually once again be a nuclear scenario, because Putin did actually say back 4 years ago, why do we need the world if it,
yes, but
if it does not include Russia?
Yeah, but
so that's basically
Dr. Sokov,
I don't really think.
Yeah, but Dr. Sokov, my concern is. Yeah, my concern is, Dr. Sokov.
How terrible it was escalation. I don't think so.
Yeah. My concern, Dr. Sokov, is about the fact that now we are seeing all kinds of missiles being sent, and we have footage of the Slovakian S-300 PMU, which is headed to Ukraine. The US will be deploying a Patriot missile system in Slovakia, which has been confirmed. So we are seeing the entry of very dangerous and new missile systems, which are in everybody's hands. Right? So, Bohdan, I see you raise your hand there, and you're always very angry. But will you deny? I'm coming to you. Just I'll ask a question provided. Would you deny?
You said that.
Would you deny, please, that there are reports and videos of Ukrainian police officers and volunteer defense force members mistreating people? Did Ukrainian police officers and volunteer defense force members not beat up Russian supporters, curfew violators in Ukrainian-controlled territories? Is there not a video of a Russian soldier being shot at, right on his face, when he was surrounded by 3 Ukrainian soldiers, which has also been doing the rounds? Will you say that that is fake news just because it does not agree with your perspective? You see? You have to be open to it.
You're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you, and okay. I'm specifying. I'm specifying that Senia will respond on the other side.
I'm asking.
Yes.
Let me speak. You've asked me a question. Let me speak.
Let me finish the question.
I'll ask you in the Indian way. Let's get an investigation and let's get the facts sorted out. Let's prove that these were actually Ukrainians who shot the Russians. That's what an Indian spokesman at the UN would say. Now, the point I wanted to make is we are being sidetracked here. What is today is important is not who fired the missile today, though there is no doubt that it was Russia. The question is who launched the war against Ukraine on the 24th of February? What are the Russians doing in Ukraine? What are they doing destroying Ukrainian cities? What have they done in the last 8 years in Ukraine?
If I may, thank you. Now I will continue to ask you the question in an. I will continue to ask. My question is Bohdan. Thank you. Bohdan. Now thank you. You see, Bohdan. I'll tell you one thing.
Don't waste your time on today's events.
Bohdan, see, thank you so much. I appreciate your unsolicited advice. I will ask the question that I want to. Thank you very much. And my question is, and if you choose to pass, you tell me or not, I will pass.
You're always giving
my question is that there is a video of Ukrainian soldiers shooting Russian captive soldiers in their kneecaps at point blank range after tying them up. Should that also be investigated in the same way the world wants to investigate Russian actions?
Should be investigated. Of course it should be investigated. I fully agree. I'm asking you, what is the source? Who has put that out? Is it a legitimate source? Is it Amnesty International? Is it Human Rights Watch? Who is it? If it's a Russian source, I would have my doubts. And I would ask for an investigation, of course.
Don't tell me Amnesty since when has Amnesty become neutral? That's a joke. Senior will respond. That's a longer discussion. It's like saying Greenpeace is serious about the environment. It's a longer discussion. I'll have seniors responding to you. Seniors responding to you. Seniors responding to you. Senior. From St. Petersburg.
You sat on the fence in the general.
Well,
you sat on the fence.
We don't sit on anyone's fence. But I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing. You're not going to build that fence. We'll sit on our own fence. We'll build it. We'll open our own gates. We'll build it. We'll live in our own houses. We'll build it. Thank you very much. I won't sit on your fence. Senior will respond to you. Thank you, Bohdan. Bohdan, Senior is responding to you. Please, let's hear the other side. Let's hear the other side. Let's hear the other side. Let's just hear the other side. Thank you.
You are buying weapons.
Thank you. Let me
agree with the previous speaker. Maybe he will let me to agree with him. Let me agree with him that first of all, there is fog of war, and sitting here and discussing who shot at whom, who fired which missiles. We are not doing any good. That's one thing. And let those, I don't know what kind of independent investigators could investigate, because Amnesty or what Human Rights Watch, I mean, especially after these conflicts, we understand they are nowhere. These are not the parties to believe. I don't know what are the parties to believe. I really would like to have that answer, but I don't have. The good question is, what is Russia doing in Ukraine? Why it has launched...
Memorial from Russia?
Yes, Memorial from Russia, probably. So the good question is, why Russia is there in Ukraine, and what had led to this conflict and the losses of lives? But it's too late to, I guess, ask that question. There is no point of asking that question. The only thing that we should be talking right now, and the entire global community should be talking right now, is how to bring peace, how to end this, what kind of negotiations, who has to help, who have to provide the guarantees. And Mr. Zelensky clearly mentioned the list of countries yesterday that he is expecting to come up. And you know these countries. He mentioned UK, US first. So we are not hearing anything on this front, on the security guarantees front from them. I think that answers your question.
But is that a change of line? I mean, I'm just seeing here, this is like a boxing match where both sides are beginning to get tired. And Senior, let me tell you this, that very much I get a feeling that the Russians are beginning to get tired. I mean, today this debate on missiles, and the Russians saying it's not our missiles, but till recently you were boasting.
You cannot place your facts on Telegram channel posts. I'm sorry.
Pardon me?
I have spent.
I have not. Did you just say that about me? Let me respond to you, Senior, with some respect.
Not about you personally.
No. It's not about me personally, but I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Okay. So let me satisfy that response with a response. I would remind you, Senior, that your country's Ministry of Defense used to be boasting. Today we have fired the Kinzhal ballistic missile. Tomorrow we have fired the Dagger ballistic missile. Then they say that we have fired the Caliber missile systems. We have shot 17 caliber missiles simultaneously within a gap of 10 seconds. That was at a time when there was a 14-year-old who was blown up by a Russian rocket. And then you said, oh, now we are using the Onyx missile system. These Onyx missile systems are very high precision, high accurate. So let me tell you, I'm not quoting any Telegram channels. I am quoting your country's Ministry of Defense. You are the ones who've been proudly proclaiming to the world about your missile systems. Don't tell me the missile systems, when they land, have some special lens with which they avoid civilian targets.
They do.
Really?
For that,
they can identify who's a civilian and who's not on the ground?
They can identify the target. No, of course they can't identify who is civilian, who is not.
Yeah, but then you've been boasting about missile systems. So today you are saying, let's end the war. I'm just saying, are the Russians
Not
getting
me,
tired,
Arnab,
Senior?
the defense.
But Senior, are the Russians getting tired? Are the Russians
are not getting tired. I don't know what Russians are not speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for the entire population. Please understand that.
Sasha.
I'm speaking for myself as an independent journalist and not the propaganda as a colleague from Vilnius was trying to,
Vilnius. Okay, no. Vilnius. Constantine, that was a response at Constantine. She targeted Constantine, that Constantine will respond. Constantine first and then Sasha. Constantine first and then Sasha. Constantine.
The line is so bad, I don't understand to what I should respond. Could you explain to me?
Well,
I mean, if I have to respond, I didn't understand what was said actually to respond to. If you repeat it, I'd be grateful.
Yes, Senior, you can repeat that.
Arnab, I don't know why you want Constantine to respond. I was just stating and responding to his previous claims that, everyone speaking from Moscow or St. Petersburg are either afraid to speak. And yes, I am afraid, because whatever I tell on your channel right now, I can get a fine or a prison term. I hope not a prison term. So I'm risking my own, life and the life of my family here, who is partially Indian. So,
it's okay.
Yes, but I'm speaking because I think I know. Yes, Constantine.
Yes, well,
I'm just trying to say that
does not put you in any danger. So far, what I've seen, Ksenia, you refused even to recognize that it's the Russian troops that are illegally on the territory of Ukraine, waging a war which a lot of people say is full of war crimes. That's what I'm saying. You're being, let's put it like that. You are being very, very cautious.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with the death toll is over 50 and over 100 people have been injured in the missile strike. We still don't know who fired it. But on the other side tonight, I'll be joined by John Bolton, the former National Security Advisor of the United States, on his debate on what Zelensky said yesterday, which led to security guarantees earlier today from France and Italy. In a few minutes.